you ever wonder why your data might getting lost in translation? Why is your spreadsheet and pivot table feel like a silent novel that no one wants to read? Why are scattered graphs and charts leaving your audience more confused than captive? Well, it's not just about showing the information, it's about crafting the narrative that telling a compelling story that makes data speak to your audience. Join me as we dive into the exciting world beyond traditional data visualization, exploring the magic of data storytelling, and create an interactive dashboard that influences your audience. Hello everyone, my name is Lynn and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a data analyst and automation expert with experience in banking and logistics industry. I'm passionate about sharing Excel tips and tricks that help professionals like you supercharge your productivity and reach the perfect work-life balance. Subscribe to my channel if you want to level up your skill and become the hero in your office. In the previous videos, by helping Excel property assess their customer experience for their newly opening shop, we've gone through a journey of data analytics step by step, including data collection using Microsoft Forms, data transformation using Excel Power Query, data analysis using Excel Pivot Table, and data visualization using graphs, charts, and objects in Excel. Today's video is about data storytelling. We will put everything together and present Excel property management team with a complete, visually appealing dashboard with a well-constructed narrative that help them quickly making data-driven decisions. First, I'll cover some theories and the importance of storyboarding. We will also go through the process with a live demo. Then, we will dive into the art of dashboard design. I'll show you how you can set colors and tone to your dashboard and how to create visual aesthetic for better user engagement. As usual, we will go from basics to advanced, and I will also provide you tips and tricks along the way. Now, before we start, you can download the data file using the link in the description below to follow along with me. There's also the timeline that helps you to navigate through all the sections. I try to jam-pack a lot of information, tips and tricks for you, so if you don't catch it yet, please feel free to pause, rewind the videos when needed. Ready to level up your data storytelling game? Let's dive into it! Let's take a moment to understand what storyboarding really is. Imagine that you are a filmmaker. Before the camera rolls, you would want to plan out each scene to ensure a seamless story flow that engages your audience. Storyboarding is the version of that process in the data world. Storyboarding is not just about making your charts look pretty. It's about transforming your data from a collection of standalone visuals into a cohesive and engaging story. So why storyboarding matter? Because stories are memorable, relatable, and they stick. They go beyond raw data, numbers, and calculation. They creating an emotional connection with your audience. So how do we do this in practice? First, we need to create a narrative flow that connects all the individual graphs and charts. Then we will strategically place these visuals to create an impactful story. Let's begin with defining our narrative flow. First, I want to introduce the context. What's the story about? It's about Excel property customer survey results. Then we get to know who the customer are. What segment or demographic are we exploring? And finally, we're going to the heart of the story, the feedback. What are customers saying? What are their experiences? Now, with our narrative flows in place, let's strategically place these visuals in a canvas to guide our viewers through the story. Naturally, people start reading from left to right and from top to bottom. So you would want to start your story right here in this corner. So we want to put the logo and the company, and next to it, what the dashboard is all about. Then we move on to display a high-level KPI about the survey. Now the area on the left, I want to dedicate it into customer information. I will split this up into two parts, starting with the overall customer demographic information. Then below it, the details about how customers connect to Excel property. Next, the area on the right is for customer feedback. First, we want to know what are customers saying through the high-level KPI of the Net Promoter Score. Below it, we will display the detail of its component. Then we move on to the customer experience. Again, the same structure, the overall customer satisfaction score on the top and the detail component below. And we've completed creating a logical flow of information that binding all our graphs and charts together into a single dashboard that tell a complete story. We also strategically place this information from high level to more granular detail. Alright, let's head back to Excel and put all our graphs and charts together following our storyboard. Okay, so now we have the story of our dashboard laid out in the way we want it. It's time to take it to the next level, simply using two dashboard design techniques. The first technique is setting color and tone. So go to Page Layout, Color. You can see here that we have many built-in color palettes that you can choose from. Generally speaking, the cold color like blues and greens can bring a sense of calmness, while the warm tones like red and yellow evoke energy and positivity. If you're starting from scratch without specific brand colors, begin by consider the emotion you want to convey. If you're working with an established brand, your brand color should take the center stage of your dashboard. In our case, Excel Property has already provided us with their brand color palette. Now we can create the custom color palette for them. Let me quickly show you how. Click on Customize Color. A pop-up will appear, and I can now updating the color palette with the RGB code or with the hex code. Once it's done, give it a name and click Save. And we have our custom color palette created with the color of our brand as the center stage. I will go with the dark theme, select the visible area, and change this into the coffee color. We want our audience to focus only on this area of the dashboard, so I will hide all the columns and rows that we don't use. I also keep the zoom at 100% so that all our visual won't be distorted. Now that we've set the tones and color for the entire dashboard, let's shift our focus to the second technique, visual aesthetic. By adding visual elements such as icon, images, or creative layouts, it can transform the mundane dashboard into a captivating experience. Like this. And even better. Stick around and I'll show you step by step how you can create these amazing effects simply using Excel. Let's start with shaped object. When we work with objects only, it's best to switch to object mode. So go to Home, Find and select Objects. Now you can drag the mouse to select multiple objects just like in PowerPoint. First, I will align these objects. Align top and distribute horizontally. Now make the text bigger. I'm also going to add title to each of these KPI cards and align them properly. and then make it blend to the background using no fill. With all the charts visuals, I'm going to adjust the chart background to no fill so that I can blend in better with the new background color. Also, I'm going to adjust the data label and legend with the light colors to make them pop out. Now for the slicer object, I want them to blend in with the background. To achieve this effect, we need to adjust the slicer styles. So select the slicer, go to Slicer, Slicer Styles. I'm going to select this style because the slicer button has the same color as in the bar chart here. So right-click and duplicate this style. Now let's modify our slicer appearance. So go to Whole Slicer, Formats. In border, choose no border. In fill, unfortunately, we cannot choose no fill. So we have to go with the color that is exactly the same as the background color. Now I also want the text to be displayed in the dark color instead of the white one. Now click OK. And we have our style created. Now simply apply this style to all the slicers in the dashboard. And you can see all the slicers are now blended perfectly with the background. Now I want the slicer to look like it's a part of the chart. To create this effect, first we need to hide the headers. So right-click on the slicer, Slicer Setting, and untick the Display Header. Now we're going to format the slicer so that it looks like part of the chart. As you can see, the vertical slicer like this takes so much space. So I want to display it horizontally instead. So click on the slicer, go to Slicer ribbon. Here you can adjust the displays of the slicer. You can increase the number of columns within the slicer. And you can also adjust the height and the width of the slicer button. Now you can see that the slicer looks just like the part of the chart. Alright, let's take a closer look at these charts. They look a little crowded with the two labels, numbers and percentages. These are both important information, but I really want to draw more attention to the number. So I will change the percentage series label to a darker color. Select just the percentage part and then change the color. Now repeat this for all of the charts. For the donut chart, we also need to add a legend to distinguish between the male and the female. So simply go to Insert and insert a square box here. Now update it with appropriate color. Moving on to the gauge charts. For the score, I want to put more focus on the number. I'll make the number bigger and change the color so that it's in line with the other charts. Now, let's make the pending progress bar of the gauge chart less noticeable. So select this part of the chart. Now increase the transparency to 75%, choosing the color tones that close to the background. Repeat the process to the second gauge chart. For the MPS classification smart art, I'm simply going to take advantage of the existing work. So select the source object. On your keyboard, click Ctrl-Shift-C. Now select all the objects you want to apply this format to and click Ctrl-Shift-V. And there we go. They are updated in one go. We want to draw more attention to the number. So for the classification card, I'm going to make it a dark color and make the font size smaller. The last chart on the list is the radar chart. Let's make the data label bigger. I also want to make the radar fill pop out more by increasing the thickness of the line and make the grid line more blend into the background. Okay, so the data label number look a bit grounded with 2 decimal. I want 1 decimal only. You don't have to do anything on the chart, simply updating this information in the underlying data, and the figures on the chart will be reflected. Okay, a final touch. Let's also remove the axis. So click on the axis and increase the transparency to 100%. And now adjust the chart size. Now let's ask the border to clearly segregate our chart into different sections. Go to Insert, Shapes, choose the rectangle with the round corner. Now drag and draw it into the canvas so that it covers the area of the chart. Now remove the fills and increase the border size. Let's copy this to other area. Hold Ctrl on your keyboard and now drag the objects. Quickly select all these borders and send them to the back. I'm also going to quickly align all our charts so they stay nicely in the border. I'm also going to replace all the chart title with custom title because they are much easier to format and move around. Now let's align and arrange our visuals so it looks nicer. And we have our basic structure of our dashboard created. Times for next level dashboard design. Let's start adding some depth into our borders. Go to Shape Format, choose Shadow. Now you can choose the shadow styles. Also, I'm going to change the shadow colors so that it's pop out from the dark theme. Now let's add some flare into the chart's background. So select the tile, Format Shape. In Fill, choose Gradient Fill. Gradient Fill is a formatting option that allows you to fill in a cell, a shape, a chart element, or a background with a smooth transitions of colors. So instead of having a single solid color, a gradient fill creates a visual effect where colors blend smoothly into one another. In the formatting panel, you can choose the gradient styles and direction. You can adjust the gradient stops by clicking on the gradient slider and drag the stops to a different position to create different effects. This allows you to customize the color transitions as you will. You can also change the gradient color for each of the stops as well. Simply click on the gradient slider and change the color. Now I'm going to apply these gradient transitions to the rest of the chart to make it more visually appealing. I'm adding the border to make the chart more clear. Now let's add the dashboard title. Make it bigger to get more attention. Also, I'm going to add some reflection effects. Let's also bring in the logo and some images provided by Excel property. I don't want too much attention to this image, so let's make it less noticeable by increasing the transparency. Now, as a final touch, let's also add some more icons into the title to make it more interesting. Once the icons are inserted, you can adjust the size and the color. Now place it next to the appropriate title. Alright, we're almost there. Let's do some final adjustment and alignment to all the visual so that everything looks perfect. And we can now proudly present our final product to our clients. As you can see, it is interactive, it tells a story, and it looks visually appealing. I hope you enjoyed today's videos. The key takeaway is that data storytelling is not just about presenting the data, it's about crafting the narrative that resonates with your audience. You can use techniques like storyboarding to ensure a logical flow to transform data, numbers into a compelling story that guides your audience. When it comes to dashboard design, pay attention to color, tones, and the aesthetic of the dashboard to improve user experience. And remember, data visualization and data storytelling is more an art than a science. So there is no right or wrong visual, and it's certainly not a one-time thing. It's only effective if your audience connect with it. So start by engaging them, asking for feedback, and make it a collaborative process. Trust me, your audience will get behind your back. Congratulations, you've done it! We've reached our final episode in our data analytic journey. But your journey doesn't end here, it's just the beginning. Now that you've equipped with all the knowledge to transform raw data into actionable insight and effectively communicate your message to your audience, please take these skills and apply them to your daily work. Do share your experience with me in the comment below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more data adventure. See you next time!